asking God, please forgive me for my sins. In my bands, talking to myself like louder, we gon' win. Lost it all and got it back, and now I do it all again. You know I'm different, had to switch up cause these bitches ain't my friends. Don't call me bougie cause I fuck around and still be in the hood. If they let me beat myself, I promise we gon' still be good. Praying for a new soul, praying for a new pole. Let a nigga try me, I'ma turn him to a new ghost. I just count the phantom, bout to ride it like a new hoe. And you know I'm gifted, young and pretty in the bitch. No, I ain't signed, still independent. Think I'm slipping, baby, I'm just getting started. Made it farther than they said I was gon' make it. Now they bother, put it on my father. Taking off of bitches that they wanna. When you turn like that, oh you got me. Tell her come and ride on my face like a Bugatti. Sometimes I need a woman just to come caress my body. Sometimes I want a man just to hold me all night, yeah. Just to hold me all night. Oh, I need an out invention. Open-minded by invention. Vicarious, causing attention. I'm low on retention. I hope I get some peachy kisses. Hit it like a bitch.
Justice for the family and friends of Breneisha Lightfoot. Today, a judge found her boyfriend guilty of involuntary manslaughter, tampering with evidence, and gross abuse of a corpse.
July 14th, 2023, a Friday night in Cleveland. Breneisha Lightfoot is on TikTok laughing with her sister. Her boyfriend's in the background smirking, shaking his head. When you get in an argument with your man and he finally not wrong and your sister take his side instead of yours. I thought we was family, you supposed to ride if I'm right or wrong, and I'm never wrong, even when I'm wrong. Funny, right? The kind of post you double tap, maybe chuckle at, keep scrolling. Just another couple, just another argument, just another day. That video, those words, that laugh, it was the last time anyone heard from her. 4 days later, a stranger in Cleveland finds a phone lying in their yard. Screen shattered, battery dying, notifications flooding the lock screen, missed calls, dozens of them, texts from her mom, her friends, her sister. Bren, where are you? Happy birthday, sis. Call me back. Breneisha, please pick up. But nobody was picking up because Breneisha Lightfoot was already gone. Now, let me ask you something. How many times have you posted something online, something light, something normal, and had absolutely no idea what was about to happen next? A joke about your relationship, a vent about your day, a smile for the camera when inside, everything's falling apart. Because that's the thing about last words. You never know they're last until it's too late. Breneisha didn't know that TikTok would be her goodbye. She didn't know that the argument she joked about would be the beginning of the end. She thought she had time. We all think we have time, but time ran out on July 18th. Between that video on the 14th and the welfare check on the 18th, something happened, something violent, something final. And by the time anyone realized she was missing, it was already over. So before I take you through what the police found, before I show you the timeline that's going to make your stomach turn, before I tell you about the man who did this, I need you to understand something. This story, it's not just about Breneisha. It's about every woman who's ever stayed too long. Every person who's ever ignored the red flags because they wanted to believe love could fix it. Every friend who saw the signs, but said nothing. And if you think this could never happen to someone you know, you're not paying attention. Real talk for a second. You know what scares me most about cases like this? It's not the violence. It's the silence that comes right before it. The missed calls, the unanswered texts, the 4 days where nobody knew if she was okay because they assumed she was. How many people in your life could go missing right now and you wouldn't notice for days? How many times have you seen a friend post something that felt off and you just kept scrolling? Look, I'm not here to lecture you, but I am here to remind you that the stories I cover on this channel aren't entertainment, they're warnings. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, someone you know is going to need you to recognize the sign. So if you're the kind of person who actually cares about learning how to spot danger before it becomes a headline, hit that subscribe button. Right now, not for me, for the next Breneisha, the one who's still alive, the one posting jokes about arguments while the walls are closing in. Cool. Drop a comment and tell me why you're comfortable staying blind. I genuinely want to know. But for everyone else who's still here, let's go. Because what happened next is where the nightmare really begins. Welcome to Unseen True Crime Stories, where the darkest secrets and untold cases come to light. Consider subscribing and tapping the notification bell. That way you won't miss our next true crime story. Breneisha Elizabeth Marie Lightfoot, 26 years old, Cleveland born and raised. And if you were tapped into the local hip-hop scene, you knew her name, Alada. She wasn't mainstream yet, but she was the type of artist people watched, the type where you could feel something building. 24,000 Instagram followers, singles dropping regularly, By Curious, The Blessing Elevate, Inc. Lil Bit, every track felt personal, raw, real. The kind of music that didn't just entertain, it connected. She'd post studio sessions, collaborations, behind-the-scenes clips, and her fans, they ate it up. Cleveland needs more artists like you. Can't wait for the album. But here's what most people scrolling through her feed didn't know. Breneisha wasn't just building a music career. She was saving lives. See, while she was in the studio laying down tracks, she was also out in the community as part of the Wolfpack Gunshot Response Team. It's a Cleveland-based organization that trains regular people, neighbors, friends, community members, how to respond to gunshot wounds before paramedics arrive, how to pack a wound, how to stop the bleeding, how to keep someone breathing when every second counts. And Breneisha, she wasn't just involved, she was one of the best. Sunsir Ali Shakur, the man who trained her, said Breneisha was extremely intelligent, his brightest student, the kind of person who showed up early, stayed late, asked the hard questions, the kind who genuinely cared. At Wolfpack community barbecues, Breneisha was always front and center, laughing with the kids, helping set up, making sure everyone felt welcome. Sunsir said she'd give you the shirt off her back if you needed it. That's who she was. And before all that, before the music, before the Wolfpack, before the followers, she was 18 years old working factory jobs alongside men twice her age, showing up on time, every day, grinding, hustling, building. You ever meet someone like that? Someone who's too good for the hand they were dealt? Someone who should have been protected, but wasn't? Because here's the heartbreak in all of this. Breneisha spent her life teaching people how to stop the bleeding, how to save someone when they're dying. But when she needed saving, nobody was there. She had two legacies building, one in the studio, one in the streets, and both of them cut short at 26. So the question isn't just, what happened? Why? Why would someone who saves lives end up losing hers? Why would a woman surrounded by love, talent, and purpose end up wrapped in plastic and dumped in the woods? Stick with me, because the answer to that question, it starts with the man she loved. Michael Rorty Nugent, Breneisha's boyfriend, the man in the background of that final TikTok, the one smirking while she joked about their argument. I could ease you into this, give you the soft version, but I'm not going to, because the truth is simple and it's ugly. Michael Rorty Nugent had a criminal record spanning 10 years. Domestic violence, drugs, weapons. Court documents paint a picture of a man who'd been in and out of the system for most of his adult life. A man who knew how to hurt people and get away with it. In 2018, Michael was locked up in Cuyahoga County Jail, and according to a lawsuit he filed 2 years later, corrections officers attacked him, pepper sprayed him while he was restrained, kicked him, beat him, tied him to a chair, and left him there with chemical burns covering his skin. He sued the county, and he won $115,000. Now, Wes, does that excuse what he did to Breneisha? Absolutely not. But it gives you a glimpse into who this man was. Someone who understood violence intimately. Someone who'd been on the receiving end of it. And someone who knew exactly how to dish it out. But here's the part that makes my blood boil. Everyone knew Michael was dangerous. Family members told police that Michael Rorty Nugent had been a violent and abusive to Lightfoot in the past. Not once, not recently, in the past. Meaning this wasn't new, meaning people saw it, meaning Breneisha knew what she was dealing with, and she stayed anyway. Now, before you judge her for that, let me ask you something. How many times have you watched a friend date someone toxic? Someone everyone else can see as bad news? And no matter how many times you warn them, no matter how many conversations you have, they don't leave. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's hope. Maybe it's fear wrapped up in loyalty. Or maybe it's because leaving is the most dangerous part. See, there's this thing about abusive relationships that people don't talk about enough. The most dangerous time for a victim isn't when they're in the relationship. It's when they try to get out. Because that's when the abuser loses control. That's when panic sets in. That's when, if I can't have you, nobody can, becomes more than just a line in a song. It becomes a plan. And that TikTok video Breneisha posted on July 14th, the one where she joked about an argument, it wasn't just a joke. It was a crack in the surface, a glimpse behind the curtain, a moment where the mask slipped just long enough for the world to see something was wrong. But nobody stopped it. Maybe nobody could. And 4 days later, Breneisha Lightfoot was dead. Let me hit you with something real quick. How many red flags do you ignore every day? I'm not talking about strangers. I'm talking about people you know. The friend who jokes about their partner a little too much. The coworker who flinches when their phone rings. The cousin who stopped posting, stopped calling, stopped showing up. You see it, but do you do anything about it? Or do you tell yourself it's none of your business and keep scrolling? Because here's the hard truth. Every single person in this story knew Michael was dangerous, and Breneisha still ended up dead. Not because nobody cared, but because caring isn't enough. Action is. So if you're still watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, I gotta ask, what's it gonna take? Does someone you love have to end up in a story like this before you start paying attention? Look, I'm not trying to guilt trip you, but I am trying to wake you up, because the cases I cover, they're not just stories, they're lessons, and if you don't learn them now, you might have to learn them the hard way. So hit subscribe, not for me, for the person you might save one day. And if you won't, go to the comments and tell me why you're willing to gamble with that. Seriously, I want to know. All right, let's keep moving, because what happened next is where everything fell apart. Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. Breneisha Lightfoot's birthday week. She should have been out celebrating, posting pictures, making memories. Living instead, her phone goes straight to voicemail. Her texts, undelivered. Her Instagram, no new posts since the 14th. And for someone like Breneisha, someone who was always online, always active, always there, that kind of silence, her family starts calling around. Have you heard from Bren? Has she hit you up? Did she say anything about going out of town? Nobody's heard from her. Nobody's seen her. And her birthday is passing without a word. So her family does what any worried family would do. They call the police, ask for a welfare check. Just go by the apartment. Make sure she's okay. She's probably fine. Maybe her phone died. Maybe she's just sleeping. Officers arrive at the Colony Club Apartments in Bedford, Ohio. They knock. No answer. Knock again. Still nothing. So they open the door, and the second they step inside, they know. What they found wasn't just evidence of a crime. It was evidence of rage, blood, dried, splattered, everywhere, on the walls, on the floor, across the furniture, and bullet holes, multiple. You ever walked into a room and immediately felt like something terrible happened there? Where the air feels thick? Where your gut is screaming at you to leave, but you can't move? That's what those officers walked into a crime scene that told a story without needing a single witness. A story of violence, of finality, of someone fighting for their life and losing. But here's the thing. Breneisha wasn't there. Her body, gone. Her phone, found miles away in a random yard. And Michael Roarty Nugent, also missing. Think about that. The apartment is soaked in blood. There are bullet holes in the walls. The victim is gone. The boyfriend is gone. And nobody knows where either of them are. But the neighbors, they knew something. See, a few days back when Breneisha was still posting, still laughing, still alive, residents in the building heard gunshots. Pop, 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 coming from her apartment. And one neighbor saw something they'll never forget. They saw Michael Roarty Nugent dragging something down the stairs. Something wrapped up in plastic, something heavy, something that looked exactly like a body. You know what it was. I know what it was. They knew what it was, but nobody stopped him. Maybe they were scared. Maybe they didn't want to believe what they were seeing. Or maybe they just didn't want to get involved. And for 3 days after that, Cleveland held its breath. Police had a crime scene drenched in blood. They had witnesses who heard gunshots. They had someone who saw Michael dragging what looked like a body. But they didn't have the two people at the center of it all. So the question wasn't if something terrible happened, it was where and how much time was left before they found her. July 18th to July 21st, 72 hours. 3 days of searching, tracking, hunting. The police had everything they needed to know a murder happened, the blood, the bullets, the witness testimony. But they didn't have the one thing that mattered most, Michael Rorty Nugent. He vanished. No phone activity, no social media posts, no sightings. He knew the walls were closing in.
It's just a tragedy that it had to end like that, especially like that.
And he ran. But here's the thing about running in 2023. You can't hide from cameras. Police started pulling security footage from the neighborhood where Breneisha's phone was found. That stranger's yard, the cracked screen, the missed calls, and guess who showed up? Michael Rorty Nugent, walking through the area, calm, casual, like he didn't just dump the only piece of evidence that could have led someone to Breneisha faster, like he had all the time in the world. He was methodical, wrap the body, drag it out, drive it somewhere remote, come back, toss the phone in a random yard miles away, disappear. But the net was tightening. By July 20th, Michael Rorty Nugent wasn't just a person of interest. He was the person of interest. His face was plastered across local news, social media, community Facebook groups. Have you seen this man? If you know where he is, call police immediately. Do not approach. And Cleveland? Cleveland was watching. You ever been in a city when something like this is happening? When everyone's talking about it? When people are checking their locks twice before bed? When the whole place feels like it's holding its breath, waiting for something to break? That's what those 3 days felt like. Breneisha's family was begging for answers. Her friends were posting tributes even though they didn't want to believe she was gone. The Wolfpack community was shattered. And Michael? Still out there. Somewhere. But then, Friday, July 21st, everything came crashing down. Hold up. Before I tell you what happened next, let me ask you something real quick. How many true crime videos have you watched where you thought, man, if I'd known the signs, I could have helped. If I'd been paying attention, maybe I would have said something. But here's the thing. You're watching this after it's over, when it's safe, when the story's already solved, when there's nothing left to do but feel bad for a few minutes and move on. But what about the next story, the one happening right now in your city, in your neighborhood, in your friend group? What are you going to do about that one? Look, I don't expect everyone to subscribe. Some of you are just here for the story. That's cool. But if you're not going to subscribe, if you're going to keep watching these cases without actually learning anything, then do me a favor. Go to the comments right now and tell me why. Tell me why you'd rather stay blind. Tell me why you're so sure you'll never need to recognize the warning signs. Tell me why you're confident this will never be someone you love, because I'm genuinely curious. And honestly, so is everyone else reading those comments. So go ahead, justify it, or just hit subscribe and make sure you're never caught off guard again. Your call. All right, let's talk about Friday, July 21st, the day the walls finally closed in. Friday morning, July 21st, 2023.
A missing woman has been found by the Bedford police.
The body has been identified as Breneisha Lightfoot, who was reported missing earlier this week. Her body was discovered in Cleveland's Slavic Village on the same day police arrested her boyfriend. The Bedford police chief tells 3 News he's charged with murder, and his first court appearance will be tomorrow at 10:30 a.m.
After 3 days of tracking every lead, pulling every camera, following every tip, Bedford police move in, and they find him, Michael Rorty Nugent, arrested. Now here's the part that should send chills down your spine. He was charged with murder before they even found Breneisha's body. Think about that for a second. The police were so confident in what they'd uncovered, the blood-soaked apartment, the bullet holes, the witness who saw him dragging something down the stairs, the security footage placing him near the dumped phone, that they didn't need to wait. They knew. And just hours later, their worst fears were confirmed. Breneisha Lightfoot's body was discovered in Cleveland's Slavic Village neighborhood, near East 64th Street and Francis Avenue, hidden in a wooded area, wrapped in plastic, discarded like garbage. like she was nothing. You know what hurts the most about this? It's not just that she was killed, it's how she was treated after. This woman saved lives. She taught people how to stop the bleeding, how to keep someone alive when every second counted. She was building a music career. She had 24,000 people following her journey. She mattered. And yet, she was dragged down the stairs of her own apartment, driven to a remote location, dumped in the woods like evidence that needed to disappear. Breneisha Lightfoot deserved so much better than that. The news spread fast. Social media exploded. Her followers, who'd been refreshing her page, hoping for a post, praying for a sign, finally got their answer. And it was the one they'd been dreading. Sunsir Shakur, her trainer from the Wolfpack gunshot response team, said her death was very hard to digest, that there was now a void in the community. The kids at Wolfpack events kept asking where she was, and all he could say was, "We carry on in her honor." Her music still live on streaming platforms, became a memorial. Every play, every share, every comment, a reminder of what could have been. On Monday following his arrest, Michael Rorty Nugent appeared via video from the Solon jail. He pleaded not guilty, but Judge Michelle Paris revealed something that made everyone in that courtroom freeze. Michael had already admitted to police that he shot her. Not, "I don't know what happened." Not, "It was an accident." He admitted it. Judge Paris set his bond at $2 million. No 10% option, meaning if he wanted out, he'd have to come up with the full $2 million, which he couldn't. So he sat. And he waited. But here's where this story takes a turn that's going to make you angry. Because the charge that got Michael Rorty Nugent arrested, it's not the charge he was convicted of. Murder. That's what they charged him with on July 21st. But by February 2024, that charge was gone. Instead, Michael Rorty Nugent pleaded guilty to 3 charges: involuntary manslaughter, tampering with evidence, and gross abuse of corpse. Now, involuntary manslaughter means the prosecution couldn't prove he intended to kill her, that it happened during another crime, maybe an assault, maybe a struggle, but not premeditated murder. Even though he shot her, even though he wrapped her body and dumped it in the woods, even though he tried to cover it all up. But here's the thing. The system didn't let him walk, because while the murder charge got reduced, the other 2 charges stuck hard. On February 28, 2024, Michael Rorty Nugent was sentenced to 23 to 28.5 years at Lorraine Correctional Institution. 23 years. Not because of the involuntary manslaughter alone, but because the judge stacked the sentences. The tampering with evidence, the gross abuse of a corpse, all of it piled on top. So while the system couldn't call it murder, it still made sure he paid. Breneisha's family sat in that courtroom and watched as the man who took her life was led away in handcuffs. Her music still plays on Spotify. Her face still smiles from old Instagram posts. The Wolfpack still carries on in her name. But the void, it sees still there. Let me ask you something. 23 years, is that justice? Or is it just a sentence? Because here's what I keep thinking about. Michael Rorty Nugent admitted to shooting Breneisha. He wrapped her body. He dragged it down the stairs. He dumped her in the woods like trash. And somehow, it's not murder? I don't know how you feel about that, but I know a lot of people in that courtroom and a lot of people in Cleveland feel like the system failed Breneisha. So here's what I want you to do. Go to the comments right now and tell me, do you think justice was served? Or do you think Michael Rorty Nugent got off easy? And while you're down there, if this story made you feel anything anger, sadness, frustration, hit that subscribe button. Because these stories, they're not going anywhere. And the more people who know how to recognize the signs, the more lives we can save. All right, that's the story of Breneisha Lightfoot, a rising star, a lifesaver, a daughter, a sister, a friend, taken too soon by someone who was supposed to love her. If you know someone in a relationship that doesn't feel right, check on them. If you see red flags, say something, because Breneisha's story didn't have to end this way, and the next one doesn't have to either. One last thing before you go. If you made it this far and you still haven't subscribed, I gotta be honest, I don't get it. You just spent the last 20 minutes learning about a woman who was killed by someone everyone knew was dangerous. You just heard about all the red flags that were ignored. You just saw what happens when people stay silent. So what's it going to take for you to hit that button? Does it have to be your sister, your best friend, your mom? Does it have to be you? Because here's the reality. The next Breneisha's out there right now, posting jokes about arguments, making excuses for bruises, staying quiet because she thinks she can fix him. And if you're not equipped to see the signs, you won't be able to help her. So subscribe, not because I'm asking, because one day you might be the only person who notices. And that could be the difference between a rescue and a funeral rest in peace. Breneisha Lightfoot. Cleveland won't forget you.
Nugent.
Pardon me?
Michael Nugent.
Mr. Nugent, can you see and hear me?
Yes.
Mr. Nugent, my name is Michelle Paris. I'm one of the judges here in Bedford Municipal Court. Since you are the defendant, you do have the right to remain silent, because anything you do say can be held against you in a court of law. Our conversation this morning is being recorded. This is case number 23 CRA 1098. This happened in the city of Bedford on the offense date is 7/17/23. You were cited on 7/21/23. You're charged with murder pursuant to 2903.02 of the Ohio Revised Code. It's a felony of the first degree. If convicted, you're looking at the possibility of serving 15 years to a lifetime sentence, a fine up to $15,000. You'd be responsible for any court costs. While you're in the municipal court, you have a right to a bond hearing. That hearing has to occur within 48 hours of your arrest. I'm going to share the allegations with you in just a moment. In addition to that, while you're in the municipal court, you have a right to what's called a preliminary hearing. That hearing must occur within 10 days from the date of the arrest if you're incarcerated, 15 days from the date of the arrest if you're released from jail. I'm going to share the allegations with you. This affidavit was submitted by a detective from Bedford. I'm speaking to you as if the officers in court testifying. The allegations are as follows. On July 18th, 2023, at approximately 15:43 hours, Bedford police received a call for assistance with a welfare check for a missing female, Breneisha Lightfoot. Bedford officers learned Breneisha's cell phone was found near East 59th Street and Chester Avenue in Cleveland earlier that day. Private security camera footage obtained by the Bedford police detectives shows Michael Rorty Nugent was in the area where the phone was located at 1902 East 59th Street in Cleveland. Lightfoot's family was concerned, reporting that Rorty Nugent was abusive and violent towards Lightfoot in the past. Due to the exigent circumstances and concern for the welfare of Breneisha Lightfoot, Bedford officers entered 501B Lee Road South, apartment 916 in the city of Bedford, county of Cuyahoga, state of Ohio, at approximately 1816 hours with a key from maintenance and located a large amount of apparent dried blood and bullet holes, indicating someone was seriously injured. Witnesses reported hearing gunshots and commotion around the time of the incident. One witness recognized Rorty Nugent dragging what looked like a body wrapped up in something down the apartment stairs. Rorty Nugent was arrested, interviewed, and confessed to shooting Lightfoot on July 17, 2023, in the early morning hours, and led Bedford detectives to Lightfoot's body and the firearm used to shoot her. The date and time of the arrest was July 21, 2023 at 10:08 hours. The Chief Magistrate of this court reviewed the allegations on July 22nd at 10:22 a.m., found that there was probable cause for the arrest and probable cause to keep you in custody. No bond was set at the time because of the serious nature of the offense. You do have a right to counsel. You always have the option of hiring a private attorney, but if you cannot afford to do that, I can appoint a public defender to assist you. Would you like me to appoint a lawyer to assist you today?
Yes.
There is someone in the courtroom right now. Her name is Shireen McGee. She's appointed to represent you in this proceeding. The courtroom will be cleared. It will be a private, confidential conversation. When she's finished, I'll come back in the courtroom and we'll conclude this proceeding for today. So
This is the kind of story Unseen True Crime Stories is dedicated to sharing, not just for entertainment, but for vital, grim lessons. If this story stirred something in you, if it made you think, then you know you need to be here for the next one. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and if you're still scrolling past without joining, I have to ask, what truth are you afraid to face? What essential understanding are you willing to miss out on? Tell us in the comments. We'll be here, continuing to shed light on the shadows, because sometimes understanding the darkness is the only way to find the light. Thank you for watching.